All right, so are you ready to dive into some really fascinating games in the Western Conference? I think you're going to be surprised by some of these trends we're seeing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So we've got three matchups that we're going to be breaking down today.
Okay.
We've got the Lakers and the Trailblazers.
hmm
We've got the Warriors against the 76ers.
Okay.
And finally, we have the Thunder taking on the Clippers.
Wow.
I'm kind of sensing a theme here. Um, is the old guard being challenged by some serious young talent? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, based on these games, it's looking more and more like we're seeing a real shift in the balance of power.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how these dynamics are changing. So let's start with the Lakers and Trailblazers game.
Okay.
I mean, LeBron, well, he's LeBron, 38 points, including 7 3-pointers.
Wow.
I mean, we know he's defied expectations before, but at this stage in his career, is this a sign that he's actually found the fountain of youth?
It's definitely a statement game.
Yeah.
And what's interesting here is that, those threes weren't just chucked up.
Mm-hmm.
He was hitting them with his usual efficiency. And it really seemed to energize the entire Lakers team. It's not just about the points, it's about the impact on his team's mentality.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know what really caught my eye in that game?
What's that?
Max Christie putting up a career-high 28 points.
Oh,
Who is this kid, and what does this mean for the Lakers' future? I mean, they've had some pretty successful late-round picks, and this performance seems like more than just a fluke.
yeah, you're right to point that out. Remember, Christie was a second-round pick, not expected to make this kind of impact so early. He's been working on his shot selection, and it looks like the Lakers coaching staff is really focused on developing his confidence.
Yeah.
This kind of performance is a testament to the work both he and the team are putting in.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how he develops over the next few years. And of course, we can't forget about Austin Reeves, almost a triple-double with 15 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds.
Yeah.
Is he becoming the kind of all-around player that pushes a team from good to championship caliber?
Reeves is interesting because he's not flashy, but he's consistently making the right plays. He's reading the defense, finding the open man, and playing with a level of maturity that's unusual for a player with his experience. Role players like that are crucial for deep playoff runs. They don't need to score 30 points a night, but they keep the offense flowing and make life easier for the stars.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Now, of course, we have to give the Trailblazers some credit. And Fernie Simons had 23 points and Shaedon Sharpe had 19.
Right.
So, what's your take on the Trailblazers? Are they looking like a team that's on the rise, or are they still kind of figuring things out?
The Trailblazers are definitely in a rebuilding phase, and it seems like they're prioritizing giving their young players as much experience as possible.
Sure.
Games like this are valuable for them, even in a loss, because they're learning how to compete against top-tier talent.
Yeah, it's all about, getting those reps in and building for the future. Okay, let's move on to a game that was, well, a bit of a demolition.
Oh, really?
The Warriors completely crushed the 76ers 139-105.
Wow.
And Steph Curry, he shot perfectly from three-point range, hitting all 8 attempts.
Oh, my God.
I mean, come on, is he even human?
What always amazes me about Curry is his consistency. It's not just about talent at this point. It's about his dedication to the game, his work ethic, and his ability to stay focused even when teams are throwing everything they've got at him defensively.
It's truly remarkable. And, Jonathan Kuminga also had a big game off the bench, putting up 20 points. It seems like every year the Warriors manage to find these players who contribute right away.
That's the sign of a well-run organization. They've built a culture where players understand the system, buy into their roles, and are ready to step up when needed. Kuminga's performance shows that the Warriors' success is about more than just their star players.
Yeah, that depth is definitely a key factor in their success. Now, on the other side, Joel Embiid still managed 28 points and 14 rebounds for the 76ers.
Right.
But the team as a whole just looked lost on defense. Is this a sign that they're not a true contender, or are they just having growing pains?
The 76ers are a talented team,
Mm-hmm.
but they need to figure out how to play together consistently. Defense wins championships, and they're not showing the kind of defensive intensity or communication that's needed to win against elite teams like the Warriors. There's potential, but they need to translate that potential into consistent performance.
Yeah, it's all about putting it all together. Now, for a team that's been quietly making a lot of noise, the Thunder, they took down the Clippers, extending their winning streak to 13 games.
Wow.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the charge with 29 points and 8 assists. Are we witnessing the birth of a contender? What do you think?
The Thunder's success is fascinating because they're not relying on one superstar to carry them. It's a team effort with players like Jalen Williams, who's averaging over 21 points, and Isaiah Hartenstein, who's been a double-double machine. They're playing with confidence, energy, and a real sense of purpose.
Yeah. What's the secret sauce here? Is it coaching? Is it personnel? Or is it just something clicking at the right time? Because I'm not sure anyone saw this coming.
It seems like a combination of factors. They've got a coach in Mark Daigneault who emphasizes teamwork and defense. They've drafted well and developed their young players effectively. And honestly, they might just be playing with a chip on their shoulder, proving everyone wrong who underestimated them.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing a team like that, really come into their own. Now, for the Clippers, Norman Powell had a rough night, only scoring 6 points and going 1 for 11 from the field.
Okay.
Every player has off nights. But is this a sign of a deeper issue with the Clippers?
It's one game, but it's worth noting that the Clippers have struggled to find consistency this season. They have the star power, but they haven't quite gelled as a team. They need to find a way to get everyone on the same page and playing their best basketball consistently if they want to be considered a true contender.
Yeah, absolutely. Consistency is key, especially in a league as competitive as the NBA.
For sure.
So we've talked about the Lakers and Trailblazers, the Warriors and 76ers and the Thunder and the Clippers, but there are a lot of other teams in the Western Conference that are worth talking about. So let's move on to some of those teams and see what's been happening with them.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
It's interesting you mentioned the Clippers' inconsistency because they're not the only team with championship aspirations that seems to be struggling to find their footing. What about the Denver Nuggets? They have Nikola Jokic, arguably the most talented center in the league, but they haven't quite lived up to the hype in recent years.
The Nuggets are a fascinating case. Jokic is a truly unique player. He can score, pass, rebound, defend. He does it all. But, they've been hit hard by injuries, which has definitely hampered their progress. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are incredibly talented, but they've both missed significant time.
So is it just a matter of staying healthy? Because when this team is at full strength, they seem to have all the pieces to compete for a title.
Health is definitely a factor, but I also think they need to develop a more consistent defensive identity. Jokic is a good defender, but they need to improve as a collective unit. If they can stay healthy and tighten up their defense, they could be a real threat in the West.
Yeah, I think you're right. And what about the Memphis Grizzlies? I mean, they were a surprise playoff team last season, and they seem to be even better this year. Ja Morant is playing like an MVP candidate, and they have a young, hungry supporting cast.
The Grizzlies are the epitome of a team on the rise. Morant is a superstar in the making. He's electrifying to watch and can single-handedly take over games. But what's really impressive is their depth. Jaren Jackson Jr. is an elite defender. Desmond Bane is a lights-out shooter, and Dillon Brooks brings toughness and intensity.
Yeah, they play with the kind of swagger that's contagious. Do you think they have what it takes to make a serious playoff run?
They're definitely capable of making noise in the playoffs.
Mm.
They have a good mix of talent, youth, and coaching. They play with a lot of energy and passion, and their defense is stifling. If they can stay healthy and continue to improve, they could be a dark horse contender.
All right, and let's not forget about the New Orleans Pelicans. They finally have Zion Williamson back, and he looks like he's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah, Zion is a game changer when he's healthy. He's a physical force unlike anything we've seen in the NBA before. He can dominate in the paint and draw double teams, which opens up opportunities for his teammates.
And they've surrounded him with a lot of talent. Brandon Ingram is a smooth scorer, CJ McCollum is a crafty veteran, and Jonas Valanciunas is a solid presence in the paint. But the question is, can they put it all together?
The Pelicans have the potential to be a very dangerous team, but they need to stay healthy and develop consistency. They've shown flashes of brilliance, but they also need to find a way to win games on a nightly basis. If Zion can stay on the court and they can develop some chemistry, they could be a force to be reckoned with.
All right, so we've talked about some of the top teams in the West, but there are also some teams that are in a bit of a rebuilding phase but still have some intriguing pieces. What about the Minnesota Timberwolves? I mean, Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards are a dynamic duo, but they haven't quite found success yet.
The Timberwolves are an interesting team. Towns is a dominant offensive player, and Edwards is a rising star with a ton of potential. They have the talent to be a playoff team, but they need to improve defensively.
Yeah, defense is definitely key, especially in the West. And what about the Sacramento Kings? They've been stuck in a seemingly endless rebuild, but De'Aaron Fox is a really exciting player.
The Kings are a team that I'm rooting for. They've been through a lot, and their fans deserve to see them succeed. Fox is a lightning-fast point guard who can score and create for his teammates. They have some other promising young players like Davion Mitchell and Keegan Murray. If they can put it all together, they could be a surprise team in the West.
Yeah, it would be great to see them finally turn things around. And finally, let's talk about the Portland Trail Blazers. They're clearly in a rebuilding phase after trading away C.J. McCollum, but Damian Lillard is still there, and they have some interesting young players like Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe.
The Trailblazers are a team that's tough to gauge right now. Lillard is a franchise icon, and he's still capable of putting up big numbers. Simons has shown flashes of brilliance, and Sharpe is a high-flying rookie with a ton of potential. They're not likely to contend for a title this year, but they could be a fun team to watch as their young players develop.
So, looking at the Western Conference as a whole, it really does seem like we're witnessing a changing of the guard. The old powers are still there, but there's a new wave of talent that's challenging the established order.
Exactly. The West is more competitive than ever before. There are so many talented teams with different styles of play. It's going to be a thrilling race to the playoffs,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from established contenders to up-and-coming teams. What stands out to you as the biggest surprise so far this season in the Western Conference?
For me, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. They were expected to be one of the worst teams in the league, but they've been a revelation. They're playing with a lot of heart, they're well coached, and they have a roster full of players who are exceeding expectations. Their success is a reminder that in the NBA, anything is possible.
I think you're right. The Thunder story is a testament to the importance of teamwork development and a never-give-up attitude. They're proving that even in a league dominated by superstars, a well-rounded team with a strong identity can make some serious noise.
It's funny you mentioned the Thunder because their success reminds me of another team that's been quietly building something special, the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
They've been at the bottom of the standings for a while, but they have a young core that's starting to make some noise.
Yeah, the Magic are definitely a team to keep an eye on. They have a really exciting young backcourt with Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony.
Right.
And then there's Franz Wagner, who's already looking like a star in the making.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
He can score at all three levels. He's a good defender. And he seems to have a really high basketball IQ.
And they've got Paolo Banchero, the #1 pick from last year's draft.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the potential to be a franchise-changing player.
Banchero is the real deal. He's a big, strong forward who can handle the ball, create his own shot, and finish at the rim.
He's still raw, but he's got all the tools to be a superstar. And the Magic have surrounded him with a good mix of young talent and veteran leadership.
Speaking of veteran leadership, let's talk about a team that's been struggling to find its identity, the Utah Jazz. They traded away their two stars, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and now they're in a bit of a transition period.
Yeah, the Jazz are a team that's tough to figure out right now.
Yeah.
They have a lot of new faces, and they're still trying to figure out who they are. But they do have some interesting pieces. Lauri Markkanen has been a revelation since coming over from Cleveland. He's a versatile forward who can score inside and out.
Yeah, he's been playing really well.
And Jordan Clarkson is a proven scorer off the bench.
But do they have enough to compete in the loaded Western Conference, or are they destined for another lottery pick?
It's too early to say for sure. I think they're a team that could surprise some people.
Okay.
They're well coached, they play hard, and they have some talented players. They're probably not going to be a championship contender, but they could be a tough out for any team on any given night.
Yeah, that's true. And finally, I want to touch on a team that's always a threat in the West, the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic is one of the most dominant offensive players in the league, but they've struggled to put a championship caliber team around him.
The Mavericks are always a team that's on the cusp of greatness, but they haven't been able to get over the hump.
Right.
Doncic is a generational talent, but he needs more help.
Mm.
They've tried to find him a co-star, but it hasn't quite worked out yet.
Yeah. Do you think they need to make a major move to become a true contender, or can they build around Doncic with the pieces they have?
I think they need to make a significant move. Doncic is a player who can carry a team to the playoffs, but he can't win a championship on his own. They need to find him another star player who can take some of the pressure off of him and help them compete with the best teams in the league.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Western Conference, it's clear that the landscape is constantly shifting. We've seen unexpected contenders emerge, established powers struggle, and young stars rise to prominence.
Yeah, that's what makes the NBA so exciting.
Absolutely.
Every season is unpredictable, and there's always a new story to follow. The Western Conference is a battleground, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And for you as a dedicated fan, we hope this deep dive has given you some new insights and perspectives on the ever-evolving Western Conference. Keep watching, keep learning, and enjoy the ride.